So another skill that got updated in the new skill rebalancing is Red Eyes Roulette. This is the skill that Red Eyes decks usually use, and let's have a look. The text still hasn't updated yet, but a small change has made into the card that you actually add with the skill. So it used to be you will add one of these 6 cards of your choice to your deck from outside your deck, and then you add a random red eyes card from your deck to your hand, and then return a red eyes card from your hand back to the deck. But after the skill rebalancing, you will only get spell or trap cards with the skill. So that is really good because you really don't want to grab a red eyes black dragon because you'd much rather this card be in your deck, because Red Eyes Insight sends from your deck, and Red Eyes Fusion can also send from your deck. So you want these spells in your hand instead of the regular Red Eyes Black Dragon or any of the other Red Eyes monsters as well. So this skill change is really good for Red Eyes decks, so it ensures that you're most of the time going to get a useful card with the skill. And also it helps shuffle back your Red Eyes monsters that you've already drawn in your hand, so you could potentially get something that is better. So let's go over the cards one by one. We have Red Eyes Wyvern. This is level 4 Red Eyes monster. Once per turn during your end phase, you could banish this card from graveyard and then revive a Red Eyes from your graveyard. But you cannot normal summon or set during the turn you activate this effect. So this is very useful to revive your fusion monsters, particularly your Red Eyes Slash Dragon, but you cannot normal summon or set during the turn you activate this effect, which usually won't be a problem because after activating your fusion spell, the main way you're summoning your monsters is through traps, so not summoning for a turn is not that big of a deal usually. So this does help you get back into the game if your fusion monster gets destroyed. Next card is Red Eyes Archfiend of Lightning. This is a Gemini monster, and its Gemini effect is that once per turn you can destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls with a defense lower than this card's attack. This is a really good board wipe effect, and because it's a Gemini monster, it is treated as a normal monster while it is on the field or in the graveyard. That's why we could revive it using Return of the Red Eyes, which we will talk about later. AD Changer is a warrior monster that we're playing in this deck. You could play better warrior monsters if you want to, but I like AD Changer because it has a graveyard effect to flip monsters and change its battle position. You could, for example, if your monster gets Floodgate Trap Hold, you could use AD Changer to flip it back up, or if your opponent has a monster on defense and you would really want to beat over it and deal some battle damage, you could use AD Changer to change it to attack, so you can deal a bit of battle damage. And finally, we have 3 copies of Red Eyes Black Dragon. It is required for a lot of Red Eyes spells like Insight and Fusion, and also it is just a good target for Return of the Red Eyes to revive. Okay, here are the spells. We have 1 copy of Red Eyes Fusion because we're playing a free-to-play version, and you can only get 1 copy of this card if you are not going to pay for the structure deck. This basically allows us to fusion summon using materials from our deck if it is a Red Eyes monster, and also this fusion monster is treated as a Red Eyes Black Dragon while it is on the field, which is very useful because some of our fusion monsters are actually not Red Eyes monsters. For example, Meteor Black Comet Dragon is not a Red Eyes monster. And some of our cards, like a Return of the Red Eyes, require us to have a Red Eyes monster on the field to actually use its effect. So Red Eyes Fusion will solve this problem for us. Next up is the best searcher in our deck, Red Eyes Insight. This not only sends a Red Eyes monster from a deck to graveyard, usually you will send Wyvern or Archfiend of Lightning for us to summon back later. It also just searches any Red Eyes spell or trap directly from our deck. You will mostly be using it to search Red Eyes Fusion, and if you already have it, you will be searching Fangwith Chain or Return of the Red Eyes. And finally, we have Eagle Booster. And the reason why Eagle Booster is very good in this deck is because you're only going to summon your fusion monsters in your extra monster zone, because we don't actually need to normal summon anything in our deck. We can directly special summon a monster in the extra monster zone. So as soon as you have a monster on your field, you will summon it in the extra monster zone, which means it will be protected by Eagle Booster. In a lot of other Synchro or Xyz decks, you will first initially have to summon your materials on your main monster zone, which won't be protected by Eagle Booster. But because this is a fusion deck that directly fusion summons to your extra monster zone, you could have your boss monsters directly protected by Eagle Booster as soon as you start your combo, which is really nice. Is basically a budget lance. If you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you could target one face-up monster on the field. That target is unaffected by any card effects this turn, including monsters and spell traps. And also, if you have 3 or more spells in your graveyard, that monster cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. This also has some niche applications. If you target your opponent's monster, for example, if your opponent tries to activate a polymerization and feeds from the field, you could use Eagle Booster just like how you use Lance to protect your own monsters. It could also prevent your opponent from targeting their own monsters with their own effects. And finally, we have the trap lineup. We're playing one Fang with Chain. It's just a searchable disruption. This can equip to one of our Red Eyes monsters. It can attack twice on monsters, and also you can send this card to the graveyard to equip one of your opponent's monsters to the monster that this card is originally equipped to. And also that monster's attack and defense becomes that monster's equip card. So this is a searchable way to remove your opponent's monsters, which is pretty nice. We're playing 2 Floodgate. It's available from box chips, so it's free to play. We are playing 1 copy of Return of the Red Eyes. This is our second search target for Insight. And if you control Red Eyes, you could target a normal monster in your graveyard and special summon it. And because it is a continuous trap card, you could keep doing that as long as this card is on the field. And again, I have mentioned that since some of our fusion monsters don't actually count as Red Eyes Black Dragon, you will actually have to rely on Red Eyes Fusion to change its name to Red Eyes Black Dragon. And also it can summon things like Archfiend of Lightning because it is treated as a normal monster in the graveyard. And finally we have, of course, Cloak and Dagger. It's just a really good free-to-play Sable Trap. And the extra deck, we have 2 fusion monsters, 1 copy of Meteor Black Comet Dragon. It has a really high attack and also burns your opponent for a bit of damage. And if you're wondering why we don't have a level 6 Dragon type monster, because we will be adding it with our skill. Our skill can choose one of the 6 cards and add it to our deck from outside the deck. And you can add Meteor Dragon Red Eyes Impact, which is a level 6 Dragon monster, which gives you a target for your Red Eyes Fusion to fusion summon your Meteor Black Comet Dragon. Our second fusion monster is Red Eyes Slash Dragon. This requires 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon and 1 Warrior monster, which we are playing AD Changer for the target. And when a Red Eyes monster declares an attack, you can equip a Warrior monster from a graveyard to discard. And also when a counter effect targets a card you control, not just itself, you can target any card that you control, including, let's say, a Cosmic Cyclone that targets their back row. You can use this effect to send an equip card to the graveyard and negate and destroy that effect. And it is not once per turn, so as soon as your opponent activates an effect, you can immediately send equip cards, and if you have more equip cards, you could negate multiple effects. And Red Eyes Fang with Chain does count as a equip card if you equip this to your monsters, and also the monster that it steals is also an equip card that you can send with your Red Eyes Slash Dragon. Next up is some generic Xyz and Link monsters that we can play. We're playing 2 copies of Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. We won't summon this very often. And doing a bunch of generic links with Power Code, plus Lumino, Link Disciple to get rid of Ibly, and the Pentastack to potentially gives us a bit of piercing damage. This is the expensive version of the deck. We are not playing a copy of Archfiend of the Lightning because we will be using our skill to add it to our deck. And instead we are playing a level 6 Dragon monster in Mana Dragon. I won't attempt to pronounce the latter part of the name, But this card allows you to, when a spell or trap you control leaves the field because of your opponent's effect, you can special summon this card from your graveyard or in your hand, and most of the time it will be from your graveyard because of your Red Eyes Fusion sending it from your deck to your graveyard. And also you can set back that spell or trap that is in the graveyard or banished by your opponent. And this is also a hard once per turn, and also if it summons itself that way, it banishes itself when it leaves the field. It's really useful if your opponent tries to get rid of your back row using back row removal. You could use this effect from your graveyard and set it back to your field. And we're playing one copy of Gearfried, Red Eyes Iron Knight. This is our warrior target. We can't play this in the free-to-play version because it is from another mini-box, but in this version we could. And this card could, once per turn, if either player equips with an equip card, you could destroy that equip card and also pop a spell or trap your opponent controls. Once per turn, you can send a equip card you controlled that's equipped to this card to the graveyard and revive a level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster from your graveyard. And that includes your fusion monster, because Red Eyes Slash Dragon is level 7. And also in our main deck, we're playing just more generic staples that are actually good, like Book of Moon, Ice Dragon's Prison, we're playing 2 Fang with Chains, and we're playing 3 Red Eyes Fusions, because we could afford this in this pay-to-win version. And in our extra deck, we are playing the 3rd fusion monster, Archfiend Black Skull Dragon, which is pretty useful because when it battles, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step, which gets around some effects that activate during the battle phase. And also, where after this card battled in the end of the damage, in the end of the battle phase, you could return a Red Eyes normal monster from a graveyard to your deck and deal you damage equal to half its attack, which is pretty useful to finish off your opponent if your opponent has only a small amount of life points left. And for the rest of the extra deck, we're just playing rank 7 monsters like Dark Armed, Mega Phantom Beast, and Big Eye, and links like Nightmare Unicorn and Nightmare Phoenix. Okay, so let's go over what's so good and not so great about this deck. So this deck is quite consistent, because we have a free insight to search Red Eyes Fusion, and our skill that adds a spell or trap from our deck to your hand usually will add one of Insight or Fusion, which will also start your combo. So getting Fusion to your hand is usually not an issue, but the big issue is that you're essentially only having one big monster on your field if you don't have a Return of your Red Eyes, because Red Eyes Fusion does lock you from summoning any other monsters during the turn you activate this card. So you'll oftentimes only have one fusion monster in your EMZ and no other monsters. So if your opponent gets rid of that monster, you will oftentimes be left with nothing. And because Return of the Red Eyes can only be activated if you actually control a Red Eyes monster, that becomes a huge problem if your opponent gets rid of the only Red Eyes monster you have on your field. And also, Red Eyes Slash Dragon has a really good effect that protects any of your cards from being targeted, but that also comes with a catch, because how the effect works is it has to have cards equipped to it. And these cards need to actually be sent to the graveyard to negate those effects, which means they clog your zones. So, because since your deck only needs one card to actually do the combo, you only need Red Eyes Fusion to make your big boss monster. It is a really good idea to play a lot of back row, but oftentimes you won't have enough back row space to actually place those back row, because they will be occupied by equipped cards that are equipped using Red Eyes Slash Dragon's effect, or equipped cards that are equipped using Fang with Chains effect. So those clog your zones, and also Return of the Red Eyes also clogs one of your zones, so that is not very ideal. Oftentimes you don't have enough zones to put everything from your hand to your field, and you will be left with copies of Cloak or copies of Floodgate in your hand, and they will just be there and being useless. Okay, so let's look at some replays. We are going second in this game. That's not a big problem because we don't actually care that much about going first. We are also doing fine going second because Red Slash Dragon does need to battle to equip cards from the graveyard to itself, so it's not that big of a deal. And also we do have an ego booster in our hand, so if our opponent tries to get rid of our fusion monster, we could have a card that protects it. And our opponent is playing Synchrons. That means there is a potential that our opponent might make a Synchron monster during our turn, and that is a monster effect. That means normally you can't protect it with Forbidden Lance because Lance protects it only from spell or trap card effects. But since Ego Booster protects it from any effects, we're also safe from any Synchro that our opponent is potentially going to make. So we can activate our skill, getting the level 6 Gemini to our deck, and activating Insight to send a Wyvern and adding a Fang with Chain, because that's the only rare spell or trap that we don't have in our hand. We can activate Red Fusion to make a Meteor Black Comet Dragon, and we will deal a bit of burn damage by sending the Archfiend of Lightning. He is going to Synchro Summon a Crystron Quarren Gandrax to banish our monster along with 2 monsters in our graveyard, which is a bit annoying, but we do have the Eagle Booster to protect at least a monster on our field. But Wyvern getting banished is a bit unfortunate, but we should be able to win in this position with our free set back row. Our opponent is going to normal summon Synchro Explorer. We will floodgate his tuner. That forces him to use the skill to send everything to the graveyard to summon his Synchros. And he will use Jet Synchron to revive itself and Synchro Summon into a Stardust Dragon. And that enables him to use the third effect of his skill to get the Livestream Dragon back. So he will do just that. He will summon the Livestream Dragon, and we will activate Return of the Red Eyes to have a Red Eyes on field, and we will activate Fang of Chain, targeting the Red Eyes that we summoned, and attempt to equip our opponent's Livestream Dragon to our monster. Our opponent will chain Book of Moon, but that's fine, because he can't synchro with a face-down monster, and he will be scooping. Okay, in our second game, we are facing against Rose Dragons, and we're also going second, but this time we do not have an Ego Booster, so we will have to watch out for whatever our opponent has for Disruption. Opponent does have a Rose Dragon with the help of their skill, but they're not going to make a Synchro monster. But now we do have an Ego Booster, so we're feeling pretty confident. We'll use our skill to grab a Fang of Chain and return the Red Eyes from our hand to deck. We activate Insight, grabbing a Fusion, and then we will be activating our Red Eyes Fusion. We're gonna make, once again, Meteor Black Comet Dragon, and that allows us to send a monster to deal a bit of burn damage. We're sending Wyvern so we can summon it back later. Our opponent is going to Book of Moon our Fusion monster. We're gonna chain Ego Booster so it gets protected. Our opponent is going to Basil Rose shoot back to Rocks Rose and grab another Basil Rose shoot. And during our opponent's turn, they are going to summon a White Rose, and we will immediately activate Return and activate Fang with Chain, again targeting the monster that we just revived to equip our opponent's tuner monster. And now they don't have a tuner, but they can make a Malevolent Sin using the 2 level 4 monsters they have on the field. They will banish our Fusion, but that's fine. It's gonna come back during the next standby phase, so we can summon that back, activate Red Eyes Wyvern. Because we have a normal summoner set this turn, we could special summon a Red Eyes from our graveyard. And we can also activate the effect of Return of the Red Eyes to summon a Red Eyes Black Dragon. We're gonna activate Cloak and Dagger in a draw step, and declare Rocks Rose Dragon, so it prevents them from summoning the tuner. We're gonna link summon plus Lumino because why not? Our opponent does have something that they can do. It's another Basil Rose shoot that we saw them add to your hand. They're gonna summon Rocks Rose, and it's gonna be immediately banished, so that is completely fine. He's gonna search a card, but there will not be another turn. Okay, this is the expensive version, and we are facing against Meta. We are playing against Raging Pendulum. And yeah, let's see how well we go this time. We are also going second. I really don't want to be going second all the time, because this is still a staple heavy deck. So, but our opponent didn't open very well, so I guess that's fine for us. So we will be activating our skill. We get a Fang with Chain, that's okay, I guess. We're gonna activate Insight to send the Wyvern to add the Red Eyes Fusion. We're gonna activate Fusion. And the monster we're fusion summoning is Red Eyes Slash Dragon. We're gonna set 2, and we have to leave a space for our equip card. So we can't set our Book of Moon, which is kind of a shame, but I think 2 Fang with Chains is probably enough. Our opponent has a Black Metal Dragon, which is pretty weird. But they do have a Pendulum Call, which they will be activating. And wow, they are actually playing Red Eyes. That is a very interesting deck they have there. Let's see what they are able to make on their field. They're still going to activate their skill as per usual, adding the stuff to their extra deck, and also getting one of them back with their Earth Dragon. They're gonna pen summon for 4. That's not very ideal. They're summoning a whole bunch of monsters, including a Red Eyes Black Dragon. They're going to make a Meteor Burst summoning back a Dragon Pit, and now their field is full of level 7 monsters. They're gonna make Flare Metal Dragon, and they're gonna seize another Flare Metal Dragon going to activate their effect to summon back in Red Eyes, and make a third Flare Metal Dragon. I don't know what they're doing, but that looks pretty intimidating. And they're gonna make, oh, that's Raging, of course, because Red Eyes Flare is a Dragon Xyz monster. Anyway, we're gonna activate Fang with Chain because we cannot let him blow our fields up. We're gonna take a bunch of burn damage, but that's fine. We can still equip the Raging to our field, which stops him from OTKing, so we can activate Fang with Chain, and again take a bit of burn damage, and because we have Fang with Chain equipped, our monster can attack twice. Our opponent also has a Fang with Chain, but that's fine because we do have a negate for that. We'll send the Warrior Monster that we equipped to negate his trap, and take a bit of burn damage again. We're gonna attack the second time. This time we're gonna activate the effect of Slash to equip back the Warrior Monster to our monster. Because we did a normal summon or set this turn, we could banish Wyvern to summon back a Red Eyes Black Dragon. Our opponent is going to set Dragon Pit, pen summon for 1, and crash into our Red Eyes Black Dragon. That's fine, we're feeling pretty confident. We just have to prevent our opponent from popping off. He only has 1 card in his hand, and we have 3 Book of Moons, which we don't have the space to set. And this is the problem I was talking about, because of the equip spells that are equipped to Red Eyes Slash Dragon. We oftentimes don't have space for the staple back row that we have in our hand. So we now have 3 Book of Moons and 1 IDP, but we can't set them. Anyway, our opponent for some reason leaves a monster in attack position. I don't know why. Maybe they ran out of targets in their deck, so they couldn't tribute their Black Stone. Anyway, we will tribute summon our Mana Dragon, so we could get rid of the equip spells and actually set our back row. And hopefully we will be able to win very soon, because we do have an IDP to stop our opponent. They don't have a dragon monster in their field, and we can still summon a Red Eyes Black Dragon from their graveyard to our field, and potentially that might be useful. But our opponent will pen summon a whole bunch of big monsters and try to attack. We could Book of Moon 2 of their monsters, they're going to crash their Red Eyes Black Dragon again, and they're going to get rid of their own monsters so that we couldn't make a bigger monster and just attack their attack position monster. They are only having 100 life points, which means we could burn them for death. We're gonna make a Meteor Black Comet Dragon and deal the remaining blow.